Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one in my railway series. Today I'm in Gloucestershire. I'm actually at a place called Sharpness Docks. And just over a year ago I made a video about the site of the former railway station at Barclay, between Barclay Road and Sharpness. We're going to be having a look and see what work has been carried out since there in this area of Barclay, looking at the work of the Vale of Barclay Railway and the developments and their hard work clearing a section of line here at Sharpness in Gloucestershire. So I hope you can join me as we make our explore around the docks. So we have lots of tracks here. This land here is owned by the Canal and River Trust. So we can make out some bits of railway iron here. It's an old GWR and MR. It was a combined line here. It's part of the 7 and Y railway. That's a remnant there. This here used to be sidings on the other side of that fence. The train that you can hear, interestingly, is actually on the other side of the River Severn. That's on the line between Gloucester and Newport, city of Newport in South Wales. The Sharpness Docks are an interesting place. Obviously they're not as busy as they once were, established 1875. Although it's still a working port, there are lots of areas where there's abandoned sites, and this is a former marshalling yard here. But what we're going to look at is another marshalling yard used right up into BR days that has since been recently restored. Let's go and have a look. So this is the Oldminster Sidings. On the opposite side, where that overgrowth is over there, is the main road into the village of Sharpness. We're going to have a look at that closely shortly. Now if you have a look through the fence here, hopefully that will focus shortly. There we go. You can see that this has been cleared quite recently. There are 4 tracks that run in parallel at this point. And this is hoped to be the new base of the Vale of Barclay operations. But they have another base and another part of Sharpness Docks which they use as their sheds, basically, to store their existing locomotives and restore other ones that'll hopefully one day be running up and down this line here. Now the sheer scale of what's been cleared is incredible. If I can find an old photograph, I say old, go back just a few years, this site here, after BR had left and even into early days of privatisation, after it ceased to be used, was full of trees and weeds and shrubbery, and now it's been completely cleared to enable to be used once more. And the tracks go up there into the distance, probably for about another half to 3/4 of a mile. What we're going to do is have a look at the other end of it shortly. Now that looks like old, very railway-like, doesn't it, with some gate there, which is clearly been made out of former railway bits and pieces. Hello cows. Looks like they've been sheltering from the rain underneath the trees there. And here there seems to be a random sleeper in the middle of a field. So I'm now on a foot crossing. It actually marked on the OS map as a footbridge, so I'm not sure what happened to the bridge. But yes, so that is looking back in the direction of Barclay Railway Station and Barclay Road, where indeed this branch joined the former MR line between Bristol and Gloucester going up to Birmingham. There's no trace remains of Barclay Road either. In fact, Ron from Parkinson's Walks did a video on the remnants of the Barclay Road site a little while ago. Let's have a look in the other direction. So that's the 2 tracks heading down into the docks. Also, it would have headed towards Sharpness Railway Station. We'll see if we can find the site of where Sharpness Railway Station once was. And the line would have previously continued over the River Severn on the Severn Bridge, the Severn Railway Bridge, indeed the one that was destroyed by those barges on the River Severn back in 1960. The line continued as a shuttle service operated out from Gloucester to serve the needs of the community in Sharpness, and on the other side to Lydney. But of course, in order to go all the way around, they had to then go via Gloucester, as indeed is the present case too. Now this is Sharpness playing fields here, and you can also see the grain stores there in the distance over in Sharpness Docks. And the railway line literally runs to the left of those rugby posts. So now in the village of Sharpness, we're going to make our way down to what was once the former railway hotel. Now there's the former Pier View Hotel. Pier, you're thinking? Well yes, Sharpness does have a pier. Hopefully we'll be able to have a look at that later in the video. Careful where I film here because there's a playground there, but just the other side of the playground, that's our railway again. And that's where the track has been cleared to, the Oldminster Sidings. So this is Oldminster Road, and of course it is Oldminster Sidings we're looking at. There is a track just behind me. Now this looks like the access gate onto Oldminster Sidings, where the volunteers have been working on the clearance. So we're now looking in the opposite direction of when I was showing you through the fence. There are some people working on it now, which is good to see, 2 volunteers, and you can see all the wood that they've cleared. Behind me is a fence, and I think this might be the limit of the network rail bit into Sharpness, and just show you that. But there, that is Oldminster Sidings, and that is all the work that's been done. Tremendous amount of work by the volunteers of the Vale of Barclay Railway. Fantastic. So yeah, that's the fence that's been put up, because that's the limit of operations of ownership of the VoBR. So everything to the right of the screen at the moment is VoBR. Everything to the left of it, I believe, is Network Rail. Beautifully cut lawn above the stream here. I think this might be in readiness for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the King's coronation. It will have already happened by the time you see this on my channel. Now our sidings that have been cleared are steeply down there amongst the trees, although it is relatively tree clear where the railway is. Now that down there is the current end of the line. You can just make out the buffer stops. I've used my telephoto lens on my other camera. I just overlap that now on the editing so you can see it, but it's very overgrown. It's not the actual track that's overgrown, but between here and the track. Now some clearance work has taken place here, because originally there would have been tracks, and that were the tracks that continued on to the aforementioned Severn Bridge, the Severn and Wye, which was later taken over by an amalgamation of the GWR and the MR. And so the red bricked building there on the right used to be the former railway hotel. Heading off beyond that were the tracks to the Severn and Wye, cross to the Forest of Dean, and joining up with the Gloucester Newport that you heard earlier in the video. I think it was then later a nursing home, and now I think it's a private residence. So if you're thinking this looks very railway-like, you'd be correct, because it's a railway bridge over the lines that once went on to the Severn Bridge Railway. Now it's very hard to imagine from this location now. I'm standing on that railway bridge you just saw. The lines heading towards the Severn Bridge went right through where the farm currently is, so you can see that green implement there. You'd have had 2 tracks making its way, and then round slightly to the right, and then curving back over a swing bridge over the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, making its way then across the River Severn towards the town of Lydney, which of course we've covered before on the Dean Forest Railway. But you have some railway cottages there on the left hand side. That's not the only bit of railway. You might be able to make out a little hut over there that looks railway. See if I can get a shot of that with my telephoto lens. Now that there is also railway related. I think it was to do with a gasworks that was in that location. So it was like a little siding off the main line heading towards South Wales and Gloucester. Beyond that, there was also a former large chemical factory. It's incredible to think that now. I saw a photo of that in a book. If I can find that, I will insert that roundabout now. And I think that opened in the 1880s, carried on until the mid-1930s. So this is what it looks like in the opposite direction. Again, you would have had railway lines coming underneath here, underneath the railway bridge. Now it's all gone back to farmland, which is better, of course, than it being turned into housing. Of course, you can see that large grain silo here at Sharpness Docks. And that there was looking down on, yes, a railway bridge, and it brought up a spur from the Sharpness Docks railway complex. We'll see if we can have a look a bit more of that in a bit. And it rejoined up to the line curving away towards the Severn Railway Bridge. So this here was a part road, part railway bridge. It's not actually a road as such anymore. You've got bollards each side, but it is used as a through footpath. And yeah, on the right of there, you can see where the railway section was that, as I say, curved round to the former Severn Bridge, Severn Railway Bridge, of course. And that came up from the docks. Sorry, it's got the green tinge on it. I'm looking through a fence there, but you can see, sadly, it's looking a little bit worse for there. I wouldn't want to go on a train crossing this bridge here. So I've now come around to the Vale of Barclay railway site, which actually isn't in Sharpness village itself, but on the Sharpness Canal and River Trust estate. And you've got the former dockers' cottages alongside there. That probably would have been for the railway people that worked on the railways are running around this dock too. There are lots of interesting things to see. This is their main shed, Sharpness Estate. This is where they've got all their equipment for renovating steam engines. WPR, I don't know what that stands for. Does anybody know? Again, drop a comment below. I'll insert some photos of some of the locos they've got here towards the end of today's video. So we've got some lovely ships here in the port today. Got Oldenburg. It looks like it's been recently restored or renovated. Just trying to make out the name of the tour ship there. I think it's called Pelican of London. And I know nothing about it, so in the usual way I'll put up some subtitles telling you a little bit about the history of that tour ship here at Sharpness Docks. You may be wondering why there's also a Welsh flag flying there. Well, there's a cement company on the opposite side of the dock here, based from South Wales, but this is their operations here at Sharpness too. So here we've got it's a line-side hut, isn't it? A workman's hut by the side of the railway. And put the top of a boiler there. And the writing underneath WPR number 15, it says RNAD. I don't know if that applies to the wagon that it just currently sits on. I think that stands for Royal Naval Admiralty. So it looks like it originally came from MOD, perhaps a naval dockyard railway. And there's a logo underneath saying this was actually manufactured at Carwent in Chepstow, which is literally just a few miles away from where I currently am, but on the other side of the River Severn. So of all of the locos that the Vale of Barclay Railway has, this is probably the most famous one, once belonging to the Central Electricity Generating Board, working in one of their power stations. Which one though? I don't know. So the siding that they've got here on the Sharpness Estate looks like it used to serve that silo there, grain silo. I don't think it's currently in use there, the grain silo that is. Obviously the siding isn't, it's just purely to store the wagons that are currently owned and being maintained and restored by the Vale of Barclay Railway. It looks there like they've got a lot of concrete sleepers too, which will be useful when they're extending the track. Before I close the video, I'll tell you about what the current plans are and also what's happened since the last video I put up at Barclay Station some year ago now. That's an odd shot, isn't it? Because you've got a light ship sticking out of the railway wagon there. That's not often you see that. Sorry, lighting's probably going to be bad from this direction, but yeah, that's the end of our siding. But let's just have a look. So I'm just going to move the camera now, so I have it slightly jerky. They don't use beyond this. You can see the bramble there. It's a limit of operations, if you like. There's that light ship again. So I went across the gates there to the port, and there you can see the rails are still intact going across there into that large silo. Let's just have a closer look at that. Yeah, so there they are. It's difficult to work out exactly how they would have gone because you've got those 4 grey roll-up shutters, and I thought they probably would have headed underneath there, but it doesn't look like. It looks like the track is buried underneath the grass, curving around slightly to the left of the silo. And there you've got that tall ship again. And you can see the 2 layers of tracks here. So there's our siding that's used by the Vale of Barclay Light Railway, and there is yet another rail, which is a little bit below that one, heading into the wharf itself by the dock. Let's have a quick look at that. And there's actually two rails here. One that I'm standing in the middle of the forefoot, if you like. And there's another set of rails running parallel to it, going through that gate there. Gate number 10 of the Sharpness dock. So it looks like that went on the rails area, just going on into the distance on the wharf side here at Sharpness docks. And so this here is the base of the Vale of Barclay's railway centre. Well, current operations at least anyway. It's not a visitor centre, this is a working site for the volunteers doing maintenance on the railway and to restore some locomotives too. I'd say it all happens on the large shed there. Just on the left you can see a single window there in corrugated grey. That's where all the workshops are. I just spotted that there. It says Oldminster ground frame. So I'm wondering if that's going to be moved to where we saw the Oldminster Sidings that had been cleared earlier in today's video. Now, when I was looking at the Vale of Barclay Railway last time, about a year ago, I went to the site of the former Barclay Railway Station, which is near the hamlet of Wandsworth, about half a mile away from the town of Barclay. And they'd actually put some foundations in with the view to rebuild the former station at Barclay. Now, disappointingly, I went down there about 3 or 4 weeks ago to do a recce for making this video here today, so I could familiarise myself with the former running lines and history of the area. And I parked up at Barclay Station. That was very disappointed to see that the bricks and the layout for the foundations have been moved. I think possibly what's been happening is the house or houses that are adjacent to the former site have now gone into different ownership. And because of that, they no longer have connections to the Vale of Barclay Heritage Railway, which is sad. So they've obviously had to move it because it's possibly now gone into private ownerships. As far as I'm aware, the freight area that I showed in that previous video, and I will link to that one I did a year ago in the description of today's if you haven't seen it, it was formerly used for Barclay Nuclear Power Station, and from the comments last time I understand it's now used to move out low-grade waste from the Aldermaster sign right over in Berkshire to take it up into Cumbria. It seems very strange because Aldermaston has a rail connection near it. I think it's Aldermaston Wharf. Anybody knows that area, please let me know. But yeah, so it comes into that site that's obviously completely security off from where the Barclay Station used to be, but that's where the low-level radiation waste leaves the site here, about 1.5 miles from where I'm currently standing. Just noticed a train going through, that's heading up towards Gloucester. Back on the River Severn here. Incidentally, part of the route that I walked today will actually be covering again on the Severn Way as we get further south. But when I do that, I won't be talking about the railways, I'll talk about some of the ships and the history of the docks too. So fill you in on that, kind of the history of this area. The plans for the Vale of Barclay Railway now are to reopen all of the line from here at Sharpness docks right through to Barclay Road, which is obviously quite an ambitious project. I'm not sure if those freight trains are ceasing. Certainly the railway line is looking very rusty as you have a look at it back towards Barclay Road. So I don't think trains are using that freight depot where the Barclay Station is very often now. And as Network Rail relinquishes control of the line, the Vale of Barclay Railway will be able to take over and take possession of it, if you like, and then be able to run heritage steam and diesel units between Sharpness and Barclay Road, where it connects with the main line. Don't think there's any plans to reopen that as a network rail station. It'd be nice, but I don't think that's very likely to happen. But it'd be nice. It passes through some lovely Severn Vale countryside between the two places, and there's a lot of history. Though it's not a Cotswold pretty place, Sharpness, it does have a lot of charm and atmosphere and interest as well, particularly if you like me, you like railways, and you also like the water and canals, which we've not looked at yet here. We'll leave that for another day. History of the canals in this area too, so it's a very fascinating place in terms of industrial archaeology. Lots going on here, so I can see that people that would be appealing to heritage lines that like to visit them would be very interested in this site here as well. Well, I've just come out to this lovely picnic area. Got beautiful views right down the Severn estuary here. This is managed and maintained wonderfully by the Canals and River Trust. Grass has just been mown here. Still got some daffodils just hanging around. Also got some lovely other flowers as well. Celandines, that's the one, celandines. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the tour today here on West Country Wanderings, looking at the Vale of Berkeley Railway at Sharpness in Gloucestershire. I'd love to know what you think. One other thing I forgot to mention was that when I came here about a week or so ago, well, a few weeks ago now, I did a recce, and there is a swing bridge with a railway track through it. And the other day on Facebook, on the Vale of Barclay, they did a post on Facebook. Somebody had said, are you going to put railway trains running across there again? So from their site, which I closed the video of today, from there running across that swing bridge and back through Oldminster Sidings. Well, no, that isn't the plan at all. That base there is purely for the restoration of locomotives and their centre, if you like. But it'll be Oldminster Sidings where all the things will be happening, and it'll be running from there, making its way eventually and hopefully towards Barclay Road, heading out towards the main line. I'm not sure what's going to be happening with the Barclay Station site. As I say, it's all gone a bit pear-shaped there for land ownership reasons. It's the only thing I can explain. If you do have any more information on that, if you are a volunteer from the Vale of Barclay Trust, I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment below to explain what the plans are for the Barclay Station site. And if you have any more information, please let me know too. There is a lot of information though on the Vale of Barclay's own website. It's very good, including some really interesting historical photographs of what this area, fascinating area, used to look like. So I'll put a link to their website in the description of today's video. If you like this sort of thing, please consider a subscribe. Also, please consider a share to someone else who may be interested in watching this video. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very soon. All the best for now. Cheers now. Goodbye.